We're spending a lot of time looking at machine learning companies applied to fintech, healthcare, consumer markets. I think the third trend is direct-to-consumer products. So every day there's a new consumer product company that pops up that's attacking a legacy business from a P&G or a Unilever, but it's built entirely online.
You've invested in Venmo and Braintree. I'm curious if cryptocurrency is on your list.
Hello and welcome to this special conversation on Bloomberg Quint. The exit poll forecasts suggest that BJP will retain Gujarat and add Himachal Pradesh to its portfolio of states across India. Well, what do you make of all the numbers that the exit polls have revealed, and how do we prepare ourselves for the critical real numbers that will be out on Monday? Joining us to talk about that is a veteran journalist, veteran at covering elections, veteran at understanding political trends. Rajdeep Sardesai, consulting editor of the India Today Group, joins me this morning. Good morning, Rajdeep. Welcome to Bloomberg Quint. This is your debut on BQ. Let me start with the first question. Any win, even if it's one with a slim margin, should be considered fantastic, you'd say, given that for the last 20-odd years, the BJP has ruled Gujarat?
Yes and no. Yes, any win is a victory. Jo jeeta wo Sikandar. Once the BJP crosses 92, the fact is it would have won Gujarat for the 6th consecutive time, which is a formidable achievement. However, having said that, remember the BJP spoke only a couple of months ago publicly about Mission 150. Remember also, this is the Prime Minister's home state and also the home state of the BJP President Amit Shah. So the expectations, the bar was set much higher. To that extent, if the BJP doesn't score, at least a 115, 120 seat victory in terms of the fact that close to 2/3, then possibly there will be a sense of a slight decline in BJP's fortunes in Gujarat, which will be seized upon by the opposition and will give the opposition some breathing space, particularly after their disaster in Uttar Pradesh. So I think 100, 105, I would say, is important, is a psychological barrier. If the BJP goes above that, they will naturally claim that this is an important victory. Once it's below that, then I think you've had a tough contest and possibly a pointer to the future where elections could get tighter and people could then look at UP possibly as more of an aberration rather than as the rule where the BJP is seemingly invincible. So I think it's not just, I think it is important that for the BJP to win the election in Gujarat, of course, but I think it's important also to have a kind of 2/3 victory that gives a sense that the BJP is invincible. So from the BJP's point of view, a 2/3 victory would give them a sense of invincibility and would further deflate the opposition. If it's a tight contest, the opposition gets a bit of breathing space.
The India Today Axis My India poll suggests 106 seats for the BJP in Gujarat. The today's Chanakya exit poll suggests 135. Some polls suggest that the Congress may have made considerable gains amongst the young voters, amongst rural Gujarat. What are the trends from amongst the various exit polls that were released yesterday that surprised you?
Well, I think what surprised me more than anything else is the micro detailing. The macro picture is clear. Directionally, all the polls are suggesting that the BJP is winning. Some are suggesting a huge win like today's Chanakya. And I think the India Today Axis poll is much more conservative. Remember, our lower end is 99, which is below that psychological 100 mark. So I think the micro detailing, because the India Today My Axis poll actually suggests that the Congress is ahead by 8 percentage points in Saurashtra and Kutch, which have 54 seats, and is about 5% ahead in North Gujarat, leaving aside Ahmedabad, which has 32 seats. Add the two, in 86 seats of Gujarat, the Congress is ahead between 5 and 8 percent points over the BJP. Now, if the My India Axis poll therefore is right, it would suggest a much tighter contest. Today's Chanakya seems to be suggesting a more uniform swing across Gujarat, a kind of consolidation of the non-Patel vote, particularly the OBCs, the Kolis, these communities, some of whom were traditional Congress voters, have moved to the BJP as per these polls. Also important micro detailing, the India Today My Axis poll suggests that women, the BJP has an 8% lead among women. In rural areas, we are suggesting a very tight contest, 64 seats to BJP, 62 to the Congress, and an urban sweep for the BJP. So I think if you look at the micro detailing, and if the India Today poll turns out to be right, it does suggest that there was a strong anti-incumbency in certain parts of Gujarat. It was halted in urban Gujarat. It was halted to an extent by Mr. Modi's persona, son of the soil, but it wasn't a landslide. On the other hand, if the today's Chanakya poll turns out to be right, then clearly it appears that the Congress got their entire caste arithmetic wrong, and the BJP swept not just urban Gujarat, but also rural. So I will hold my judgment till I see which of those two extremes turn out to be right. Remember, if the BJP is closer towards 100, it means that there was anti-incumbency. If it is 135, it suggests that the opposition was simply not seen as an option by the people of Gujarat.
Well, business and investors, Rajdeep, are wondering whether if BJP on a weak wicket, if that turns out to be the reality on Monday, could imply or could suggest a more populistic economic policy. What do you think the implications for yesterday's numbers, Monday's numbers are for the Modi government's economic policy? And I'll give you three options. One, if the BJP loses Gujarat on Monday. Two, if the BJP wins with a slim margin. And three, if it wins with a large margin.
Look, I think if it wins with a large margin, let's start with your last option. I think it gives the BJP so much of momentum heading into this 2018-2019 period. Look, we are now 15, 16 months away from general elections. And I think if the BJP wins big in Gujarat, the Prime Minister has the confidence to believe that despite all the disquiet over GST and demonetization, the BJP is in safe waters, and to that extent it gives him the confidence and robustness perhaps to go ahead with perhaps taking even more risks than he has so far. If on the other hand it's a slim margin, or indeed the BJP loses, which is really a political earthquake, then I think it pushes the government on the defensive, and then you have a Prime Minister, weakened Prime Minister, who will then have to really watch his back and be very conscious of the fact that we are now heading into the big general election year. Nothing can be taken for granted. You will therefore find the government taking its steps with greater caution. I know that's a word which you don't associate with Mr. Modi, but any defeat or a slim margin of victory would push the government on the defensive. On the other hand, if it's a major victory, I believe there will be momentum. It will give the Prime Minister leading into the budget in end of January the confidence to believe that the people of this country are with him. Himachal Pradesh also important in that context. Remember, this is also a state where the BJP is predicted to win big. If you win big in Himachal, win big in Gujarat, I think the momentum with a demoralized opposition will give the government so much of elbow room to perhaps push ahead with any further planning that they have. Look, populism is a word that you used. The fact is there is much talk about a major housing scheme that the government wants to announce. There's even been talk from time to time of some universal basic income program. All of this would come into play if the government felt that it needs to somehow or the other arrest any kind of disquiet over GST and demonetization. But big election victories can sometimes lead the government of the day to believe that they are on such a bullet train almost that they don't need to look at the past, simply look ahead at the future.
Let's talk about the Congress, Rajdeep. Even if it were to lose Gujarat, as all the numbers from the exit polls seem to suggest, does Rahul Gandhi's newfound energy bode well for the 2019 general elections? Does it suggest to you that finally we do have an opposition that's woken up and this one's not going to be a walkover for the BJP?
Well, if the Congress gets anything above 75, which would be about a 20% increase in their tally. They got 61 last time, remember. So anything above 75, the Congress will believe they've really given the BJP a good fight. And to that extent, Rahul Gandhi as Congress president will have a huge morale booster. Anything less than 75, I think the Congress will believe it's status quo, the BJP is invincible, we are unable to really offer a serious challenge, and Rahul will start his presidency of the Congress on a bit of a downer. But I think there are straws in the wind, and I should have said this earlier. Look, if this is a tough contest, it means that there is a sharp rural-urban divide. It means that agrarian distress is real. It means that there is a narrative which the Congress has perhaps been able to push successfully, that Achhe Din are not here, that there is farmer distress, there are SMEs closing down, that jobs are a problem. So I think it's important to see from a Congress perspective also, once they cross 75, possibly 80 as they expect, then you are in a situation where the Congress, even if they lose the elections, will perhaps believe that they finally have a narrative to challenge the Modi government, that you promised Achhe Din 5 years ago. Where are the Achhe Din when it comes to jobs? Where are the Achhe Din when it comes to farmer crisis? Where are the Achhe Din when it comes to small and medium enterprises? So it will give Rahul Gandhi a narrative. So I think it's important from a Congress perspective that Gujarat is not a walkover. I think a walkover will really demoralize the Congress and will almost force them to look at 2024 and not as 2019 as a possible challenge to Mr. Modi. If the Congress does well, Rahul Gandhi immediately emerges as a challenger to Mr. Modi.
All right, last question, Rajdeep. The young Turks of Gujarat, Jignesh, Alpesh, and of course Hardik Patel. What's going to happen to them if the BJP does score a victory in this one?
Look, I think, our survey seems to suggest that both Jignesh and Alpesh are winning, even though the Thakur community in particular, which Alpesh belongs to, appears to be split wide open between the Congress and the BJP. And maybe the Congress made the mistake of giving Alpesh Thakur far too many seats in North Gujarat. Hardik Patel, interesting. I think there has been a swing away, particularly of younger Patels disenchanted with the BJP towards the Congress because of the Hardik factor. I think if the Congress gets those 75-80 seats, they will owe a huge debt to Hardik Patel. But even beyond the numbers, I think Hardik Patel is a politician to watch out for. He's 23, 24. He seems to have an instant connect. He seems to have not just drawn crowds, but also been able to spin a successful narrative. And it's not just Hardik, but what Hardik symbolizes. He symbolizes a kind of discontent, disquiet among a section of the people who believe that questions must be asked of the government. The time has come not to simply accept what the government says as gospel. So I think you will have Hardik-like figures, who are muscular, energetic, not just emerging in Gujarat, but in different parts of the country. He's almost a cross between Kejriwal and Mamta for me. These are the kind of leaders who will, in the years to come, offer challenges to the BJP, much more rooted regional leaders. And it's a testimony to the disarray of the Congress that they are unable to throw up a Hardik-like leader, so they had to almost outsource their campaign in some parts of Gujarat to Hardik. So irrespective of what happens, unless the Congress is completely decimated, I would say a Hardik kind of leader who has a political future, and leaders like him will emerge not just in Gujarat, but you will find them slowly emerging in other parts of the country as almost a third alternative. Because the Congress organizationally is weak, you will have third alternatives in the Hardik, Kejriwal, Mamta kind of leaders who, in the long run, will perhaps, at least in their own pockets of influence, offer a challenge to the BJP. But look, Menka, this is only at the end of the day, an exit poll. And I must say that for the first time, an exit poll, despite the directional trend being the same across the polls, has slightly confused me. Because if I look at the India Today Axis micro numbers, it looks like it's a tough fight. Because if two large parts of Gujarat are voting heavily against the BJP, then you expect the elections to be tighter. On the other hand, you've got an outlier like today's Chanakya, who's completely gone the way he did in UP and predicted a 2/3 victory, which again can't be ruled out if there is a strong non-Patel consolidation and the rural anger was exaggerated, or the angry farmer didn't see the Congress as an option. So for now, I want to wait and see for the final numbers before we can draw too many conclusions.
Fair enough, Rajdeep. As always, fabulous insights. Let's see if the life of our conversation exceeds 3 days or not. Rajdeep Sardesai for you guys there. Thank you very much for tuning in to Bloomberg Quint.
We can talk on Tuesday.
Absolutely.